Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Catalyst Movement interview series. I always make the claim and the promise that we're trying to bring the best and the best of the industry on for you guys to kind of understand their brilliance and the way their minds work and the big things that they're doing. And today is no exception. I'm lucky to be joined by a friend, Samantha Boyd from the Anew team in Florida, partnered with LPT. And she has had some of the most phenomenal growth over the past 2 quarters. We're talking about taking a reasonably sized team to like a massive team and keep it moving. So without any further introduction from me, Samantha, what's up?
Well, thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on. Excited to tell you more about Anew and share whatever comes to be.
Yeah, I love that. All right, tell us a little bit of your background. Like, kind of give us so you are the Anew team. That's ANEW, and you operate in what area?
So I run Anew Collective with my partner in business, not in life, because do have a husband. I always like to make that correction. He does the same. I run Anew with Sean. We span all across Central Florida. So from Orlando over to Tampa. We go up to Ocala and all the way down to Naples. And we're actually looking at expanding this month to Knoxville, Tennessee. So we're going multi state, which is really exciting.
That's awesome. I mean, those are some like, how many major markets are you covering? Do you think? Like, I know Tampa's probably one of the bigger ones, but like, how many major like sub major markets?
I would say five. That Fort Myers to Naples, you've got the entire Sarasota area in there. Tampa Bay is a big one, Orlando, and then Ocala.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those are like some pretty major markets. And okay, great. We'll pause there. And Sean opted out of the conversation, so we get to give all the credit to you. So sorry, Sean, but I know he's a big part of what you guys are doing over there. Tell me about you. What did you do prior to a new collective? What did you do prior to this? Like, how did you kind of get into it? Give us kind of the how did you get here today statement.
So prior to Anew, I had been running a team under the Robert Slack umbrella for 5 or 6 years. What is time in real estate, right?
I think that's
I
probably
kind of,
years in real estate years.
yeah, right. I had kind of worked my way up. So my last position there, in addition to being a team lead, was the director of technology. So I was the head nerd in charge of getting all of our agents trained on all of our systems and managing the back ends of those. Prior to that, I was an independent agent. So actually worked for Remax, and prior to Remax, I was with Redfin as a showing agent when I first got my license. And before that, this all started with a degree in religious studies, believe it or not. So I've come a long way since my college years. I quickly discovered after graduating that not a lot of money in the nonprofit space, not a lot you can do with a religious studies degree. And my first job out of college was collecting donations for this nonprofit on the streets of DC. So those pesky people that everyone hates that stand outside of like metro stops with iPads saying, could you just donate for a cup of coffee a day? Yeah, I learned a lot of sales skills in that job, and I decided that I should probably apply them to something a little bit more lucrative, and real estate kind of found me.
Yeah, I love that. Like, I find it like, so that's what we call like a hustle job, right? Like, that's something we have to get out there. Like, it's not all that different. So, than what we do in real estate. Yeah, I always say real estate's an eat what you kill industry, meaning that there is no safety net. It's you got to get out there and you got to create, right? Like, not quite completely entrepreneurial, but it is more of an entrepreneurial endeavor, like being a real estate agent. And then you obviously building a real estate business is more and more entrepreneurial. But I always say those hustle jobs are such a good core, like someone who's been in the service industry, a bartender, a waiter, a manager at a restaurant, and or done the things that you're talking about, like hustled, like I sold Comcast cable door to door, and like that's one of those things that like it gives you an appreciation for the big paychecks that are available when you work really, really hard for like a tiny bit, like it gives you like a really big appreciation for the opportunity that we have like in the real estate world. So I can
That
definitely,
too, and comparing your worst day in real estate to your worst day doing that job or the job that I did, I'll take the worst day in real estate any day.
yeah. So cool. So okay, so you were at Robert Slack, you said for 5 years, 6 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Very cool. And you were working like you were running a team there or no?
Yeah. So I was running the Tampa Bay team. I covered Pinellas, Hillsborough, and Polk County.
Very cool. Tell me about that. Like, what was that like? Robert Slack is, for those who don't know, is a brokerage that is more of a leads focused first brokerage, right? Like they're providing leads to agents across the country, right? I don't know, hyper regional. Like what?
Yeah, they were in multiple states. I'm not sure where they're at right now, but they were the number one team in Florida, I think number four in the US last year. So really big mega team operation. A teamridge is, I think, what the industry calls it when you're a mega team and a brokerage. And I learned a lot about leads there. So prior to joining Slack, I had worked like Realtor.com leads as an independent agent and I hated them. Like me and a lender split it 50-50. I didn't really have a CRM that I was devoted to. I didn't have a system that I was devoted to. And so when I decided to join the team as an agent in production, I was pretty skeptical if it was gonna work out. I think, the model at the time was 20 to 30 leads a month, $0 monthly fees. That feels like a scam. So, I signed up because I do have a gambler's heart, and within, like, 2 or 3 months on Realtor.com leads plugging into systems that actually helped you convert, I was the top agent on my team, and about 9 months after joining, I got asked if I wanted to be a team lead. So, I didn't spend too long in production. I think in that 9-month time period, I closed like 37 houses or something. That was really good for me at the time. But more importantly, I learned all of these conversion techniques and methods and like how to really capture an online lead. And it just kind of grew from there. So becoming a team lead straight out of production and leading the team that you were previously an agent on came with all of its own obstacles. So I learned a lot about management. I learned a lot about leadership, in addition to all the technical aspects of running a leads model team.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like leadership in real estate is not like leadership in like a corporate setting. When you are the head independent contractor in charge of a bunch of independent contractors, like it's a different type of leadership. You're kind of leading from the trenches, like you're leading. It's different than most people uh, there's not a lot of leadership books that address it the way that it is, right? When you really can't define what time someone should be somewhere and what they do. And we've adopted this whole philosophy now of like IDOS and individual definition of success. And it's really interesting to be a leader of a lot of people with different mentalities and different ideologies and different like work ethics. And like, so I don't know. I think what did you think? Like, what was that transition like for you going from and like you downplayed it, but like 37 transactions in 9 months, it's crazy. But a high producer to someone who's now in charge of high producers, low producers, and like being a leader to
I think that there was a big learning curve. So, like what you just described with IDOS is one of my favorite things about coming to LPT and really embracing what we have to offer here. That was not the case at previous brokerage. And I think most leads team models, it's not represented in those. And the reason why is because there's such a hefty investment in this lead cost that you have to anticipate a certain ROI on your dollar spent. And so if you're not pushing these agents to produce at absolute max capacity, then you're being told that you're losing money on the other end, right? So I think that learning curve of, okay, well, I still have to meet people where they are. You can't teach everyone the exact same way. You can't lead everyone or hold everyone accountable the exact same way, but we have these metrics that we need to hold our agents to. It was definitely interesting. I think that the biggest lesson that I had to learn is exactly what I just said, where like you can't treat everyone the same. Like you have to meet them where they are. And luckily I was able to find myself at LPT and now I can literally coach and train to that agent's individual definition of success. We have tools within our CRM and within our reach in order to train them appropriately and give them the right level of investment that fits that definition of success. So I don't anticipate that every agent on my team is going to close, 36 homes a year plus, because that's not realistic for where everyone is at. Versus before, the goal was at least 24. And so that's changed quite a bit since starting and joining Anew.
Yeah. One, I think it's an important perspective to take because regardless of our opinion or prior organizations' opinions, IDOS or individual definition of success is not a new concept. It's just that we weren't acknowledging it, but we were still running into it. Like you were like, "Hey, Rob, I need you to work harder," and Rob's like, "I hear you.
I don't want
I'll
to.
tell you I'm going to work harder. I'm not because
Yeah.
it's not plan." So
Yeah.
you're always at this friction point at all times just because we weren't acknowledging it. It's always existed. So it's this thing that like is part of the brilliance of like Robert Palmer and like LPT acknowledging it. But from a leadership perspective for running a real estate team, it's been really big for us too. Like you were saying with the new, because all we did was eliminate the friction. When Rob shows up and goes, I want to sell one house, we're like, okay, cool. If can we fit you into our organization? Like, is there a win-win for us here? Cool. Then you exist on one. And then someone like Steve goes, I want to sell 50 homes. Like, awesome. We have room for you too. And I just, the point that kind of blew my mind was like, oh yeah, like this has always been happening. We just weren't paying attention to it before.
Well,
So reduces the friction in a big way.
I think we weren't asking the right questions. You know what I mean? Like, I think I'll speak for myself, like going into interviews even just a year ago for the previous position, I would say, like, these are our metrics. Is that in alignment with what you want? And if you're on an interview and you want a job, you're going to say yes. Like, there's no room for honesty in that conversation. Whereas now I have a completely different hat on where I have to go and discover because I think agents are trained to lead with, like, oh, I want to close the most and the highest volume. It's not realistic. And like letting an agent know that that's okay. And I want to work within your lifestyle and I want to hold you accountable to your own metrics. It's been a huge game changer.
Yeah, I love that. And it is true, you know. I love that you said discover and like seek to understand, because you're right. In an interview setting, people are going to say whatever. And often too, like this is the other thing about IDOS is it's not it's the word I'm looking for. It's not like it changes. It's an evolving. Like I've met lots of people who were ambitious month one, less ambitious month two. And like that's everybody, because like in a world like real estate where time is very valuable and like it takes a lot to do a lot, I think that lifestyle changes, like sicknesses, like people go through different seasons and like their business has to kind of ebb and flow with it when you are the single business entity as a real estate agent. So, you know, IDOS allows a little bit of flexibility too, meaning that Sam might come onto my team and say, I want to do 37 homes. And then something happens. She breaks a toe and she can't get a boot. Like she's like, I can't show as many houses next month. And
Hey, a toe's not going to stop me.
that's right. That's right. Cool. So yeah, it's awesome. And like we could talk about this all day. I want to stick kind of the leadership thing for a minute though. Like as you evolved and like you've moved, right? So you've gone from, you know, Robert Slack and running the Tampa team to now you're moving to Anew under LPT. Tell me, give me the background of Anew. Tell me like, you know, you partnered with Sean, like kind of catch me up to where we are today from your journey from Robert Slack to where you got now.
Yeah, so Sean and I, made the decision to leave Slack, and we knew that we still wanted to lead a team. We had both been team leaders there and running our teams independently. I think, thank God, every day that like I decided to make that call to him and say, "Hey, what do you think about maybe partnering up?" Because I don't know how we would have got where we are today without the two of us working as hard as we have. It's been a beautiful partnership. He was one of my closest friends before, and I think that this has only kind of strengthened that. And what we've been able to do is really divide and conquer. And that has made our time so much more stretchable and malleable. Whereas I'm kind of at the forefront of everything, he is in the weeds in the background, like setting up our onboarding system, which allowed us to very easily onboard over 80 agents since we started because we only started with 6 agents on the team. It was certainly like a very scary time when we made that jump. And we didn't know what was ahead. We had high, high hopes. He didn't believe me every time I would tell him how big it was going to be. I'm going to say that right now. And then my favorite story that really captures that. When we first decided that we were going to do this, we started going to vendor partners and saying like, hey, we need a small investment. We weren't asking for anything crazy. I think we asked for like $1,000 so that we could start investing in some of the back end or PPC just to get our feet on the ground. And we were sitting in this lender's office and the lender's like, how big do you think you guys are going to be? And I said, this is July of 2025. I said, well, by September of 26, we're going to have 100 agents. We had 6 at the time. And Sean just kept quiet. He's good like that to me. He just kept quiet. And then as soon as we left, he was like, what are you doing? Why would you say that? That's so crazy. How are we going to get to 100 agents? And so sitting here today, it's May of 2026. What did I say? 14 away from 100 agents. We've kind of moved that goalpost to 200 by the end of the year. Like that's me and Sean's dynamic 100% of the time.
Yes, lots to unpack in all of that, right? So you made this move, you chose to partner with someone. Like that's tough in itself because you guys have different styles and you were both running individual businesses at the time. As you were transitioning to a new brokerage and a new kind of environment and an ecosystem, what helped you survive that? Like what were the three things that you think you did right on the partnership perspective? Because like that's not easy. Partnership in normal environment can be tough, but with all those changes in the face of all this growth, which we're going to kind of double down on in a second, what did you do right on the partnership side?
I think that we have different strengths, which is huge, right? If we were carbon copies of the other one, maybe we'd agree on every point, but we probably wouldn't go as far. We wouldn't challenge each other to grow, and the team wouldn't have grown the way that it has and will continue to. I think communication is key. Um, from the beginning, I said there can be absolutely no secrets, no ill feelings without being stated. Like, I think that we need to be super transparent with one another. There's no, I don't know, games or politics in the conversations that we have. They're very candid, and I value that greatly because I know that I'm a huge pain in the ass sometimes and everyone deserves to tell me so. So, and then I think the third thing is just that I pick somebody who is just as trusted and credible as I am in the industry. He had done a lot of work over several years, like gaining the trust of several agents that we're currently working with on the team and that are planning on joining in the very near future. And I did similar work where like I was out in front of everyone. I was always willing to lend a hand. And so having that same kind of spirit of generosity and the time that we're willing to lend to our agents, really.
Yeah, so different skill sets, like-minded approach, and then like a track record of success, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that. Like, so what did you do wrong? Like now you have like a year and a half's worth of like time. Like, what would you have done differently on the partnership perspective?
That's a good question. I don't think I would do anything differently from the partnership perspective. I think that we waited too long to hire like our in-house recruiter and our in-house VA. Had we done those things on like month 2 instead of month 5, we'd probably be well ahead of our goals this year. So, I think there's an inherent risk when you make a big change. You're already kind of betting on yourself. And so I think what I've learned in hindsight is like if you're going to bet on yourself, go all freaking in. Don't like kind of tiptoe your way in. Like it's going to work out as long as you've got the resources and the support that you need. And if you're smart, you wouldn't have made the jump if you didn't.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too because real estate's one of those industries where like the natural evolution of a real estate business was like so and so got into real estate. They were decent at it. They got busy. They brought in one other person. They got busy. They brought in three, five, 10. Like, they made a hire, right? Like it starts, but like if we were to start like a pizza restaurant, more than likely we wouldn't be making the pizza, serving the pizzas. Like you would hire a staff, right? You would hire a support staff. But real estate's this weird industry where you're starting from a one and going to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. So, like, you always kind of end up, like, maxing yourself out before you make that jump. But most industries and most entrepreneurial endeavors, like, you would hire a staff, you would buy systems, like, you would put an upfront investment in. So, it's very interesting that, like, we, like, often forget to do that, but it's a really good point because you had a vision, you believed in yourself with the ability to execute. Why would you not staff yourself appropriately to execute on that vision? And I just think that that's an amazing piece of like hindsight that you're kind of bringing to the table because if you believe in yourself and it's a solid business plan, like you've vetted it out and you've performed it out and it actually works, why not make the upfront investment? Because you can't waiting. There is an opportunity cost to waiting.
Yeah.
That's really solid. Okay, so we've kind of talked about the growth. We've kind of broached it, but like let's actually like spell it out. So June of last year, 6 agents.
So July 25, we claim July 4th as our birthday just so that nobody ever forgets it. There's something else important that happens that day, but 6 agents, which I had gone from running like a 35-person team. He had gone from running an 18-person team. So when we came over, it was a big adieu. We started with 6. And like I referenced before, like we were both terrified. He's got a little one and I've got bills too. So it was definitely scary. And from day 1, it was how many agents can we talk to in a day? Okay. How many interviews can we set? How many proposals can we send out? How many agents can we hire? Like that has been at the forefront of our minds. It has been since we've kind of divided and conquered now that we're a little bit bigger, that is Sean's like number one priority in our business is recruiting and onboarding. We do have a full-time in-house recruiter. She's overseas, so she does all the cold calling for us and books the interviews. Sean handles all the warm like outbounds, and it's really worked well for us.
That's awesome. I mean, that's a really, really like great perspective on being a little bit scared, being a little bit nervous, and then just jumping right into it because this is like everyone talks about wanting to grow. I'd love to be big, I'd love to be huge, but you guys got right into the growth activities. You'd be surprised at how often those don't match up. Someone's like, "No, I've got this I plan to be big." I'm like, "Cool, what are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm working on my CRM. I'm working on this. I'm working on that." I'm like, those aren't growth activities. Those are like operational, helpful activities, but they're not growth activities. But the actual conversations, the actual outreach, the actual purposeful like approach to it is probably the reason that you guys are at 86 agents today, which is insane. And we kind of run in a group, LPT, where growth is kind of thought of a little bit differently, where you have teams of 100 and 200, but take that group out anywhere across the country, 86 agents is like in the top 1% of large real estate teams and operations. Like that's a really big. There's like several brokerages that operate under that. So you guys should be really, really proud of what you've accomplished.
I appreciate that. It's crazy to hear that because it felt at the time and it still does like an imperative. Like there's no question that we need to do this and so we will do this. I don't know. It's a wild perspective and I think that that's because I've never run like a truly small team and so it wasn't even an option on the table. But hearing that time and time again like it never gets old. We did a great thing so far.
Yeah.
It's
Super,
exciting.
super cool. Like you should be really proud.
Thank you.
Execution wise, what did you learn about scale? Like, what did you like, what are the things that you were like, I didn't anticipate this. This didn't show up till 60 agents. This one didn't show up till 75, especially addressing scale where it's not one avatar of person. You've got multiple avatars. Talk to me about that.
So I think that we've been very fortunate to have had forward thinking from the time that we had six agents to jumping all the way up. I think there was also a lot of downtime when you've got six agents. Like you got to take breaks from cold calling to recruit. What are you going to do with it? And so we built systems and building a bang up onboarding system has been an absolute lifesaver. It allows us to get an agent completely onboarded into the team, have a baseline of knowledge of all of the systems, technology, the SOPs that we follow in a meaningful way, not just like read a document, initial at the bottom, and so show us that you looked at it. That has allowed us to grow so fast. Like if we hadn't spent the time doing that months 1 through 3 with consistent tweaks in between, we wouldn't be over 50 agents today. And I talk with other team leads pretty consistently and a vast majority of them are still doing manual onboarding. Like they are still hosting live Zoom calls one-on-one in order to train an agent on every system that they offer and what the expectations are. And there's a merit to that, but on our team you have to work up to that. Like you need to get your baseline from the system that we created and then absolutely we're going to start doing those group coaching calls and those one-on-ones with you. So yeah, without that we wouldn't be where we are. To answer your second question, I haven't learned. I haven't learned yet like what that pain point is. I think that we're approaching it. Before we started this call today, I had told you I think like we're gonna hit it around 150 agents. I'm excited to get there and have that pain point, but I think we're okay until then. And I'll be sure to follow up and tell you if we're not.
Yeah. No, please, please. I think, yeah, it's interesting because you don't really know. And there's growth over time allows you to slowly handle hurdles, because like you're growing at like a slower rate. The interesting thing about rapid growth is that like you haven't weathered multiple markets yet. Like you've only weathered today's market because it's only, it's still all relatively new, but also too, like you have an agent base who also hasn't gone into any other additional seasons of life. Right. Like, so there's like a maturity point of a team and an organization where you see the needs and wants of agents evolve. You see the market change and evolve. And that is only something that time can give you. Right. It's not something that necessarily like agent count won't solve all things, which is interesting because like it'd be interesting to see like, but I do think you guys attacked it the right way because like the easiest way to figure out 150 agent problems is to get to 150 agents.
Yeah.
When I started real estate, like I thought, man, I'd like to sell 100 homes in a year. Like that's a pretty good benchmark. And I was like, I could slow roll it and do 5 this year, 7 the next year, and then maybe in 10 years, like I could naturally, get there. I was like, or I could just sell 100 this year and like face those problems on. So I think that that is the fastest way. What do you think when it comes to like a team and growing that much? Like where you so you talked about onboarding. What are the key components of onboarding? Like what are the key components that you like? What are the three objectives like you're trying to attack every single like person you're putting through onboarding? Like, is it culture first? Is it systems first? Is it standards first? Like, what are the three things or multiple things that you're trying to get across in that onboarding that you found is the most important?
I think that exactly what you said, but in a different order. So, system, standards, culture. Like, we want you to have a baseline understanding of the systems. That's also a really good weed out point. Like, if you are not willing or open minded to learn a new system, I don't need you to be tech savvy. I just need you to be open minded and coachable. You're going to see those systems. If it's a complete no for you, you're out. Then you're going to learn our standards, which is kind of some secret sauce, right? To how we convert leads at a high level. We have a proven, repeatable method for doing so. You're going to learn what that looks like. I think the key for those two sections is it's important to not feel like you have to be a master of those items in order to move on and start. I found over the years that most realtors are pretty tactile learners, meaning like we have to put our hands on it, we have to do it ourselves in order to really learn it and in essence like fail forward. And so onboarding is not a place for you to become a master. It's for you to get some brief familiarity so that you understand what the expectations are once you are put onto the team full time and once you're on lead flow. And then that last piece is culture. So what does your life look like on the team? Like how can you lean in? How can you reach out to teammates that are local to you? The culture piece is an interesting question and I'd love to talk more about that with you. When you are growing a team quickly across multiple markets, how do you develop culture? There's no office. We're cloud based. And so that's something that we've put a lot of time and effort into for sure.
Yeah. No, so I think the answer to your question is proactively. Like you have to take a very proactive approach to culture where like sometimes it was more of an organic thing that happened. Like if you all met every single day, the culture will evolve and come. But since you don't, you have to take a proactive like approach to it. And then when you get to scale, you have to make sure that the organizational culture outweighs any micro subcultures, meaning that like if you've got like you guys have mentioned going to a new state, if you have a stand-up leader or someone who is in more of a like supervisor role like in another state, you have to make sure that the overarching agent relationships with that person doesn't outweigh the culture of a new. And that is something you have to be purposeful about. You don't knock down their relationship with that person. You just have to make sure your value wall is always higher because it's tough, but proactively is this is the way you build culture in a multi-state organization. It's got to be a focus, like making it one of the three core components you're talking about. I found that saying it and stating it was really important. And it sounds kind of crazy and maybe even a little cultish, but reading on a regular basis, like who we are and what we're about, puts it out there, and it makes it more well known. I think that like I don't know, like if you've ever tried to communicate with someone and they were like, "Hey, I think you were being mean," or "I think you're this," and you're like, "That wasn't my intention." The interesting thing about intention is you can't see intention, right? Intention is only something you can understand when I accurately articulate a message to you in a way that you got it the way I was intending for you to receive it, or it's something that like we discuss and it's open. And I'd say, hey, my intention for this conversation is to this. So it's no different with a big organization. Like you have to be proactive and intentional about who we are, what we're about. Otherwise, a lot of it can get lost in translation, especially when you get big, because then it becomes a weird game of telephone.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love the growth. I love I mean, it's truly amazing. And I love the proactive approach to onboarding, which is like, it is the key. It's the first introduction. What do you wish you would have known sooner about onboarding? Like, where did you guys like kind of step away? Like, where did you miss? Like, if you at any point gotten any of it wrong, meaning that you had the three out of order, or like, were you approaching anything, or were you trying to like, because when people think scale, like when it comes to size also means scale and systems, and it's not absolutely the same. Sometimes to achieve scale and size you actually have to double down on the hand-to-hand combat like to protect those things you're talking about? Like, what did you learn? Like, what were the mistakes or missteps along the way?
I mean, I'm a very process and like detail oriented person, just like by nature. And so building out something wasn't difficult. Building out something that did not require manual touches like every 2 to 3 steps was hard. And so I think, in hindsight, we tried out, I think, 3 different platforms to host this. And so we finally found the one that we're using, which is School. We had a bunch of manual touches in between. And now I think we're down to like 2 or 3 completely for an entire agent. And we are fortunate to have an assistant who can help out with those things. So it's not Sean or I behind the scenes. But the onboarding system that we have in place right now varies greatly from the onboarding system that we had in place month one. I think the other thing that's really cool about Sean and how Sean and I work together with the team is we are super transparent and really open to feedback. So like when an agent finishes onboarding, any issues that they had, we're going to get on a meeting, dissect them and then correct it for the next person. So having that open door to be able to receive that feedback and then immediately implement it, it's been a night and day difference from like anything that we've worked on in the past. We've been able to immediately impact change so the next agent going through onboarding doesn't experience any of it.
What have you learned about feedback? When you're running an organization of 6 people, it's really easy to understand what feedback is valid and what is not valid. And it's easy to understand, like, you get to know personalities. But when you're running an organization of independent contractors, you will always have no shortage of feedback. But how do you evaluate that feedback in the sense of like, this is them self projecting, this is an actual thing we need to fix? Is it you're looking for themes, you're looking for repetitive pieces, like, because you are going to be inundated with feedback no matter what. How do you sort through that and decide what to take action on?
I am the wrong person to ask because I take everything that everyone says very seriously. Now, like, I know my agents really well, and I'm going to continue doing that. And so I know when somebody's being a little hyperbolic or somebody's just having a tough time because I know what's going on in their lives. But in general, like if you hear something twice, you need to put some time into it. And if it's a agent who is hyper vigilant and they bring it up to you, you should probably look into it right away. So I think that I have a varied approach to feedback depending on maybe the kind of feedback that that agent's provided in the past, how into the systems they are, and then obviously if we hear it twice, it needs to be fixed. And I apply the same rules for my agents, like in making content. If you hear the same question twice, you need to make a video. So like, why would I not apply that to feedback? I think what's interesting too is like I started leading a team at 26 years old, 27 years old. So, like, more than half of my agents were older than me in a significant way. Like, most of them have children or grown children, and so learning how to maybe navigate that feedback within the context of like how I've grown up and what I know. I'm a little bit more tech savvy than a lot of my agents. Some of it is going to be training. Like it's going to be coaching. It's going to be a misunderstanding of the tech that they have. And so picking apart feedback to hear like, oh, is this a coaching opportunity is really important too.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's everything you're saying is really smart around understanding and knowing your agents and understanding what's there. How do you handle bad feedback? Like, how do you like, because sometimes feedback isn't valid. Like, what do you do in that sense? Like, or this is always a tough one. Yes, I hear you, but not a priority now. Like, we have a list of 10 priorities, and unfortunately, this thing that's really important to you is like probably number 10 or 11 on the list. So, how do you handle that?
I think that like there's buckets, right? So we were talking about feedback, but what I just heard from you was a suggestion. So I'm super open minded to those too. I tell my agents to bring them to me constantly, whether it's a vendor you want us to consider as a partner, a change in a process, and then you don't know me very well yet, but I'm sure you will over the next few years. I've got a plan for everything. So like at the end of Q2, we're going to reevaluate X, Y, and Z things. Like all of that stuff is already planned out. And so when an agent comes to me with a certain topic and it's a suggestion, I let them know where that falls into our plan. It's quite possible that we're not willing to reevaluate our lender partners until we've at least had a year in business. That makes the most sense to me. And so I give them that feedback back. Like, yes, keep bringing me your suggestions. I've got tons of notes logging all of those so that when it is time to have that conversation, we will. And then in terms of negative feedback, I don't really get a lot of negative feedback. That made me seem like a jerk,
Yeah, we
but
probably should have been not on the call for this one.
I mean, we really don't. I think, and I think that that speaks to the way that we're able and willing to work through problems with our agent until we find a solution that fits everyone. I'm sure that there will be some. There have been some in the past that like just don't like the way that I coach. They don't like my leadership style. That's totally fine. I'm well aware that I am not everyone's cup of tea, just like Sean is. And if it's not a good fit, like we're not in alignment, that's totally fine too. But yeah, no, nothing crazy yet.
Yeah, there was some brilliance in what you were saying. I like taking suggestions and feedback and like acknowledging, hey, seen, heard, took all the notes in our big vision for the business. This is probably not something we're evaluating until next year or after the year one point. And so like I love that. Like not dismissing it, not saying, hey, we can't do that and here's why. Being like, no, I hear it, but this is in helping them understand as part of the overall journey, this is where that falls into. And the second piece around the negative feedback is that I really liked is that alignment. I always say that like when you are a leader, this goes for any relationship, like boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, like employee, employer, when you operate from a sense of need, like you don't allow yourself to be held accountable in the same way. Meaning that, like, you talked about alignment, and alignment in a sense is I want to be in business with you and you want to be in business with me. Same application on the relationship side of things, right? Is that I wake up every day choosing to be in business with you. You wake up every day choosing to be in business with me. And if one day we don't, that's okay. But when you go, man, like I only have 4 agents. If I lost Deborah, like it would devastate us. You start treating Deborah differently and not holding her accountable. And it's the same thing. If Deborah thinks she needs you, she's not going to hold you accountable as a leader. So, like, there was some real brilliance in what you said about, like, hey, if we're not in alignment, that's okay. And alignments change and, paths change. So, it's just really powerful because like a lot of people get caught up in that need. They go, man, if Deborah left, it would really hurt us, or if this person left. But the reality is, everybody leaves. Like we the strongest cultures probably have a 4-year shelf life. Past mentor of mine said pretty brilliantly. He said that running a real estate team is like a college basketball program. He said if you get lucky and you get like a Cooper Flag or like a stud basketball player, you might get them for 1 year right before they go on and do something else. If they're just a good core team player, they might become an assistant coach and leadership in the future, and you might have them for 4 or 5 or 6. But most people are only there for 3 to 4 because that seems to be the shelf life of someone's seasonality in this business, like before it evolves and changes in a way. And there's obviously it's not a there's exceptions to that rule, but overarchingly, when you look at it that way, I think it's really powerful what you said because alignments change, and the more you're open to that, the more powerful you have in taking feedback because you're not operating out of fear, you're operating out of choice.
I agree with that 100%. I think the other really interesting challenge that all teams have in front of them right now is how do you create a system, a place, a culture that's so sticky that you can beat that 4-year churn rate? I think, coming from a leads model background, running a leads team now, there's never been an emphasis in my business to um, maybe cultivate a large sphere. And that for Anew is at the forefront of our minds. Like, how do we not only feed agents exactly what they need to have business right now, but then empower them with the tools so that they can reserve those same customers and get clients and referrals from those customers to build out a really healthy sphere pipeline? And then how do we make us so sticky that they can't possibly want to leave? It's an impossible feat, like, I'm aware of that, but shoot for the moon and land among the stars, and that's our philosophy.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, like, but going back to that whole statement on proactivity, right? Like you're being proactive about creating that, so you will fall well beyond where you would if you were like, I don't know, kind of it happens, it happens. I always say like the real estate gods, like they reward people who put the work in. That's always been the case. Like the people who put in the effort, the people who put in like, the people who are hosting the open houses, the people who are doing the things, and it's no different in leadership, meaning that like the harder you work, the more reward you will find. And it's interesting too, because like if you think about like all of the success you guys have had, like this is a really awful real estate market.
That's
Like
terrible.
it's been normalized for us because we've been sitting in it for several years now, but it's not a good market. So the fact that you've been able to find success in a tough market really does mean that you're setting yourself up for future favor and for future reward.
It's the plan. You build it in hell. When you get to heaven, it's gonna be beautiful.
That's right. That's right, and that's from a religious studies expert. We know it's true. Well, we got a couple more minutes here. What's next? Like, give me the future evolution of Anew, from 6 agents to 100 agents by September and then 200 agents by the end of the year. That's not the same company. Like, that is a drastically different company organization. Like, so what's the future? And then how are you going to control like those DNA changes? Like, how are you going to, because you have to evolve. Like, you can't, like, at a really rapid rate, like you can't address anything today the way you were addressing things last year at this time. Like all the core competencies are the same, but you get what I'm saying. Like it's a completely different business. And 200 agents is a completely different agent or business than 86 agents. So tell me what's the plan for the future, and then how you guys plan on evolving and not getting kind of caught behind.
Well, I'll tell you the current problem. It's me. I'm the problem. I am absolutely devoted to my agents. I make myself available to them at all times. And that is a really important crux for me in working a leads model, because you're working with people that are coming from the internet, which means that you are working with all walks, shapes, sizes of life, all different scenarios. And there's no amount of preparation you can do as an agent who wasn't on leads to one that just started to really be ready for that, and that you need support. And so when I say that I'm the problem, I mean we have to figure out how to duplicate that more than once, because it's not going to be sustainable or scalable for me to be that person forever. And so the next real obstacle that we are going to face is hiring right, putting people in the right positions. One of my favorite things that we have decided when we built Anew, and as we continue, is that we are going to hire from within. That's going to be really important to our culture, to empowering agents to have these higher up leadership opportunities that maybe, like me back in the day, we didn't think that we were good enough for, or that we didn't deserve. And so hiring the right agent to step into leadership, and probably plural, is going to be crucial. The question that we have in front of us right now is when. When do we do that? And we're still figuring that out. I think that that's every business owner's kind of plight in life is, okay, I've grown a lot. How do I let go of the reins? And I'm excited for the challenge. I hope I don't misstep, but if I do, I know that we'll be okay.
Yeah, for sure. You'll definitely be okay. Um, and the answer is probably now.
No.
I think you start building for the future now, because like what you're talking about is like an organizational DNA change.
Mhm.
There was one person I went to, and now there's going to be several people I went to. So you need those, like, part of the reason I'm sure you're brilliant and you have all the answers to all their questions, but you've garnered a strong amount of trust, and they trust you to answer their questions. And like you have to allow someone else to build that same level of trust. And if on a Wednesday it's you, and on a Thursday you go, here's Rob. Rob, I don't know Rob. I don't trust Rob. I don't like Rob. And what
Yeah.
you'll find is people just keep calling you.
Yeah.
And then you get into a point of conflict because you're going, "Hey, you need to call Rob. Hey, you need to call Rob." And they're like, "I'm not being serviced the way I used to." You need to create some Robs and allow them to start building that trust, and that, to kind of give you that space, because it's hard to do it on a one-day turn.
It's gonna be tricky for sure.
Well, you've been awesome. This has been great. Like, seriously, like, you guys should be so proud of the growth that you've had. Like, it's been phenomenal. Like, it really is. I mean, like, I think we kind of run in circles where, like, growth, like I said before, is talked about, like, in a different way than most, but, like, outside of that circle, it's insane. Like, it's absolutely wild. You guys have accomplished something really big, and you've done it in a unique model than most people have, right? Like, it's very cool to see you guys thrive in a world where it's like, "Hey, here are the lanes you need to play in," and you being like, "Cool, here are my parameters, like, I'm just gonna go crush it." So,
Thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it.
well, anything else, like, you wanna say, like, anything else you wanna do? If someone wants to find you, where could they follow you on social media? Where could they follow the team to watch this, like, insane growth before it takes over their towns soon?
Well, I talk about all of this stuff and so much more all over Instagram. You can find me Samantha Boyd underscore anew. I'm also all over LinkedIn, and within like the next 2 weeks, I will be back on Facebook. Anywhere on socials for sure. And then obviously give the team a follow too. Real estate on Instagram. Also will be on Facebook soon.
Very cool. Well, this was awesome. Thank you so much. You're the best.
Thanks, David.